And make it clear at the outset that we only have 40 minutes, so stay on point.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So what I expect is that we'll step through these questions on the screen,
Okay.
which are shared.
Okay. Let me. I'm gonna stay on point. It's got to be. We don't want to scare these guys.
See if I can get both of us on screen. Let's further back to make sure we're both visible.
I thought that far, and I can't go much further. I can sit there.
Whichever you're comfortable with.
I'm fine.
So this is what we look like.
For reasons I'm not prepared to talk about, I might be pulling back
I'm sorry.
from the infrastructure committee activities. I'll try to stay involved, but not like I've been.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I am too.
I want to make sure that I sent the right invitation to Chris and Paul.
I assume they're going to be operating off the same.
Are we logging in? Oh, here, Todd's on. Hi, Chris is on. Good.
Okay. If Chris is on, I assume that.
Paul would be too. Todd, welcome. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. And Paul is here.
Very good. Todd from C2G is on, but still muted, so it might be still connecting.
Okay.
Can you see the screen, the questions?
Yes, we can.
Very good. So, well, hi, Paul.
Hi.
We'll be stepping through these questions, and Todd and his associate possibly will be answering them. We are recording this so that we can go back and I can transcribe answers.
Great.
40 minutes.
And we're limited to 40 minutes. We're on a free Zoom call.
Make it louder.
So we won't go on to long tangents.
Okay.
Maybe not any tangents. Todd, are you able to hear us? Well, Todd, you're muted and your video is not on. So if you are able to hear us, you'll need to adjust those. Make sure that Todd hasn't emailed me with any kind of technical issues. I don't see anything.
Call him, yeah.
Will do.
That's weird. It means he's logged on.
Mhm.
And if he can hear us and see us, we don't know. But he doesn't appear to be doing anything about it. Oh, well.
So everyone, can you hear me now?
Oh, there we
Yes,
go.
here, Todd. I was just calling you. I'll hang up.
So I'm driving.
Oh,
And normally when I've done this, I've had to pull off. So normally when I've done this previously, I was able to talk and drive at the same time, but for some reason it was requiring me to load my video, which is strange. But yeah, I had an unfortunate change on events today. I had a emergency. I had to be in San Mateo. We have a very large water tank we're pouring and I had to inspect today because of rebar inspection. So
Okay.
anyway, I apologize. I'm now pulled
Yeah,
over
30
so I can
minutes.
talk and walk through things with you, but I cannot really see your screen because, as I said, I'm in the car.
Okay, well, we've got a half hour to go over this.
Wonderful.
Should we, do you have the questions in front of you, or shall I read them off to you?
Read 'em.
If you could read them again, I mean, I looked through them, and then Dave Doffin was also supposed to be joining too. Do you see Dave on the trying to get in? Because I think he also had a conflict and was trying to do two things at once today as well.
No, we do not.
Okay. All right. Well, we can go through them. Just if you
Okay.
can read them to me, then I can respond.
And we are recording this, just so that you
Wonderful.
understand.
That's fine. Not a problem.
Question one, if the new water lines will be placed under the streets, running laterals to connect to existing meters, what information is needed about current system? For example, as-built, maintenance, and repair of existing systems.
So as-built will be important, but the biggest, so you're going to be keeping your existing water main active while you turn over to your new system. So you're going to basically have two systems active at the same time.
Correct.
And then bringing over the lateral. So the issue is most likely the biggest conflict is going to be any PG&E, cable, gas. Those are your most shallowest utilities.
Mhm.
And so we got to get over the existing water line and over to the new service connections. So it is important. Some of that can be figured out beforehand, like we are doing right now for another, for Montessorino in Scotts Valley. We're doing sanitary laterals, but we have the same conflicts in terms of getting that sanitary lateral over to the individual trailers and getting through those utilities. So some of it will be a little bit of USA locating done prior to that in there, and that will give us at least where the gas and if there's any underground electrical where that is located. Hopefully cable and telephone would locate too. So it really comes down to sanitary would be last, and sanitary is deepest, so I'm not really worried about the sanitary. Sanitary is always lower in elevation than the water line.
And given that we have limited information, we've already shared with you our blueprints,
Yep.
which
Yep.
we don't have dated, we're not highly confident in, we think they're probably correct. Given that, will your proposed project gather all that information needed?
We'll do our best, and then in the contract documents during the construction of it, we can identify areas where the contractor should pothole and verify prior.
Okay.
And so it puts a little bit of that on the construction side, but at least it identifies it during the construction process, and you can adjust where you need to be after you find it in the field. Because we don't all have X-ray vision. If I did, I wouldn't be in this business. But there is always an unknown when you get into the ground of where you think it is or where you thought it was. Even with PG&E, will sometimes even be off by 4 to 5 feet when they locate stuff. So it happens. But that's what potholing is important. And you show that in the contract documents, key areas that they should be potholing at before constructing.
Okay, so
Does that help? Does that help explain?
This is part of your contract, right?
It'd be in the contract documents that you give to the contractor who's building your water system.
But you'll have the information available so that you can identify where the potholing will be necessary. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll do our best from what we've by having the site USA located prior, so we have an idea of where they mark it in the field, and we'll do our best of just verifying the best we can in the field for what we have for context clues, and then from that we'll then identify the key areas we think the contractor needs a pothole to verify things during construction.
Question.
If the entire water distribution system is to be relocated to the streets, can the existing system simply be abandoned and left in place?
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
Question.
Are we required to have a separate routing for a dedicated fire suppression system, or can it be integrated into the proposed domestic water supply system?
So that's going to be a question that when we get under contract, we're going to just talk with the city of Santa Cruz Water. So it can, but our past experience with Santa Cruz on water systems, they prefer not to. The only way they could do that is if the water main becomes a public water main within your park. And I don't think they're going to want that.
Well,
So
master
really
metered.
what,
Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
so they currently don't have that right now. You're master metered, you have a meter at the property line and then you sub-meter inside right now, or do you each individually have meters with the water department?
We sub-meter inside. So we read
Yeah,
the
you sub-meter
meters.
inside. Yep.
The city reads the
Yep.
meter at the street.
Yep. So that would be not how your current system's laid out. And so to do that as a combined system, I really don't think the water companies or water department's going to allow you to do that. I'll ask for you, but I don't think they're going to allow it.
What would make it easier for them to go with it? Because you're talking about
They're gonna so for them to combine the fire and the water on the same system, that means it's a public water main now. So they're gonna have to have an easement inside your park to come in and do repair and replace it, and they're gonna take ownership of it. There's the big onus. They take ownership of it, and what's the incentive for them to take on ownership of more water pipe? So in order to do that, there might be what's called a water main extension agreement, and that then they charge you a fee for that. They charge you an upfront fee. So basically they're charging you a management fee upfront. So that's just another cost you guys probably weren't considering in this project if you go that route.
yeah.
We had contacted the water department and asked them if they could get us off of master metering and just take over the pipes. And they said no.
Yeah, it's a hard sell. I mean,
Well,
I'm not shocked by that response. I mean, again, there has to be something in it for them, and I can't think of what it is right now. I'll try to think of something for them that they might benefit out of it, but I can't think of what it could be at the moment.
How much of that could be political?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, good enough.
Okay, thanks. Question 4, phasing may be necessary due to construction costs or minimizing service disruptions. Would including phasing change the cost of your proposal? And if so, please estimate that change in cost.
It could. I forget how we laid your proposal out. I think we had a part in there for phasing, and again, I don't
Right, I think so.
remember if we did or did not.
Yeah, I think you had multiple loops. And you said we could do one loop first and another loop
that's right.
later.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's not that complicated. It's more complicated for a sanitary and water could be. Now you're gonna have two systems operating. You have your new system and your old system, because you'll have part of your park on the new system and part of it on the old system. So
Could the phasing be sliced a different way so that all of the new pipes, but none of the laterals are put in? So we're all on the old system. And then the next phase would bring in all of the laterals? Or does that not make sense?
no, you could do it that way. Yeah, you could do it that way. That's not a unreasonable way of doing it. I'm just so used to once you put the water line in, you put your laterals in and make your connections and go. But I don't see, it's not a bad idea. It's a creative idea. I like it. We could do it that way.
Overall, would it be less expensive to do it all at once rather than phase it?
So I'm thinking construction side here now. So
Right.
what you normally do is you would construct your water pipe. Then you clean the water pipe by you're doing super chlorination on it, and you have to let the chlorine soak in that pipe for a day or so. You take tests, you take residuals, make sure that it's clean, and then you wait for that. Then you flush the water line after that. and then you refill it up again, and now your water line's safe to connect to. So and then you'd make your connections to each build or each unit after that. That's kind of how construction goes for that.
Mhm.
So if we built this water line, I don't think we would connect it, because we don't want water sitting in there and going stagnant, waiting for your next phase of making the connections. So I think what we'd do is we'd build the pipe, but we wouldn't connect to anything. It'd just be a dry pipe technically.
Uh-huh.
And then when you do your connections, you would finally, when you're ready to make your connections to the individual units, you would also make your hard connection to the water main, test the pipe, pressure test it. Now, here's the problem with that though. If you have two different contractors, one of them's not going to want to take ownership of the pipe that's been sitting there for maybe a year or so. And there might be some problems there.
Right.
Unless you have the same contractor coming back for the next phase, then they might take ownership of it. But that's just the nature of contractors. They like to oh, that first contractor didn't do it right, and I'm going to charge you extra to fix it and
Sure.
get it right, because I'm not going to make my connections to it, because I'm the one responsible for you guys to have a safe connection. There's some parts to that could be squirrely. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Could be squirrely. Therefore, I'm thinking, in some regards, it might make sense to build a certain water line to a certain length, get those people on, make those connections, and stop with a gate valve. And then the next contractor who's doing the next phase picks up at that gate valve and finishes the rest of the park. Would probably be the best way to break them up into phasing. But that's stuff we can talk through. I mean,
Okay.
I don't, that's just part of engineering and part of planning. Not a big deal.
If you're willing to take a wild guess, if we had to go to 2 systems, what percentage would that increase our costs?
Well, shoot. I mean, right now, material costs
Can't do
are
it,
just
you can't.
crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's such a hard one, especially with now what's going on with just material shortages and when pipe shows up, when fittings show up. It's crazy right now.
Okay.
Okay.
It's getting better. It's getting better, but it's a little crazy on that end.
Let's move on.
Yeah, especially for water pipe.
So Dave's joining us. Erwin, is there more you
Yes.
want to cover on phasing?
Hmm?
Is there more you wish
No.
to cover on? Okay, so we're up to question 5.
Okay.
What needed information will an aerial survey add to the program?
Yeah, Dave and I were talking about that.
Yeah.
So we need some sort of surveying to put plans together, and we could kind of go off of county. County has some GIS contouring that we could kind of use, but we really need more specific detailing. The aerial that we have, I think in our proposal, we suggested an aerial. That gives us a really detailed information of that we can use to put the plans together. But we're going to need something to put the plans together, and I'm open to either way. But we need something electronically representing your park the way it is for us to put plans together. And so either way, there's going to be some sort of surveying component, either aerial or ground surveying, but something needs to be put together that's pretty accurate for us to put plans together. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that kind of answer the question?
Yeah, now, so, yeah, you're saying that one way or another, we're gonna need the aerial, right?
We'll need
Yeah, we need something electronically to put
Oh.
into our CAD drafting, and to be able to replicate accurately how many linear feet of pipe, where the connection points are, how wide the road is, all that stuff. We need something. And so we're just trying to come up with the most economical way to do that for you by suggesting, by
That's
doing it
all
in
we care
aerial.
about. That's all we care about, is
Yeah.
the most economical way of doing what needs to be done.
Exactly. And we're open to whatever the most economical way we can get it done for you for the water line, but we need something. It's something that can't be completely be cut out, but we need something in there for
Got
that.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was just gonna mention another project that I'm currently doing, which initially came in as a large preliminary project and has now broken up. I'm on my 7th phase of this project, which each individual phase has required its own topographic survey, which is very inefficient.
Wow.
having to bring the surveyors out multiple times. And so the aerial, as Todd's describing, is by far the most economic way to get an accurate base for us to proceed with. There are other, shortcuts, but then if you apply those, then the level of accuracy falls with that dramatically. And so to get accurate costs, to get a good understanding of what would be required, the aerial is the best way to proceed on a project like this.
Dave.
See?
Dave.
Okay, no, you answered the question. Let's go on. Glad you made it, Steve, but
Dave.
Dave.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
on
sorry I'm late.
we're on a half-hour timeline, so because of the Zoom thing, so
Which
we're gonna keep moving.
We may need to log back in to extend it. So,
Okay.
was there, and the cost for the aerial survey, I don't recall, is that incorporated in the proposal or?
Yes.
It's great. Question number 6. Confirm that project cost estimates include laterals from the street to connect with individual meters, and if not, what would the estimated additional cost be?
Our cost estimate will cover the full construction. Yeah, it'd cover all of that for you guys. We have a pretty good understanding what those numbers would be.
Good, and it'll be in the bid documents.
Yeah, what we do is we'll break out the quantities. We'll give you as the owner our estimate of what the construction costs should be. And then when you bid this out to contractors, we vet those numbers against our cost estimate we put together and kind of compare it. So ultimately, you're going to want to bid this out to probably 3 to 4 underground contractors. And then we compare their costs against each other as well as against our cost estimate of what we think this project should cost to do it.
Good. Good. Question 7. Confirm the cost of underground utility locator is within proposed C2G budget. If not, what is the estimated additional cost?
Yeah, since I'm driving and I know Dave's driving too, I don't know the answer to that. I don't remember offhand what we had in the proposal or not in terms of underground locating. Dave, do you remember what we did on that?
No, no, I don't, unfortunately.
I don't either.
Well, you could email us later or call and let us know.
Okay.
But as I previously discussed ahead of time, and in question number 1, I don't know if we're going to need much underground utility locating. If we first start with calling in an underground locate for PG&E to locate their gas and then with the PG&E locate will come any AT&T, Comcast, or what any other people who have underground in your streets will have to mark it. That's the first step. No one will mark your water main because it's privately owned. The sanitary, I don't know if the city will mark the sanitary or not. So a lot of it we're going to get painted up ahead of time. And then as I mentioned, we can put the underground locating into the contractor's scope when we get the pointing where they should pothole and verify. The underground locating would only come into play if there's some sort of utilities that we know are out there, but we're not marked, just from your experience. Like, let's say, hey, we know cable TV's out here, but they didn't mark it. Okay, well then let's bring a locator out just to find where the underground cable TV is running around here on this facility or something like that. So I think there's a way to minimize our underground locating is what I'm getting at.
Okay, good. So related is question 8. Well, Chris, did you have a Polly?
I do. I've got the proposal here. It says on one of the last pages, underground utility locating $5,800.
Great, thank you.
I think,
Paula.
Yeah, and I think that equates to about 2 days worth of underground locating in the field from the underground locators we use for projects. That sounds about 2 days, almost 2.5 days. That should be adequate for your facility.
Great, thank you.
And we can work on trying to keeping that cost down too.
Thank you, Todd. Number 8, will the plan and profiles of the proposed water system indicate the location and depth of pipes? including storm, sanitary sewer, water, gas, electric, where they cross streets to the extent needed for contractors to prepare reliable construction bids? If not, what would the estimated additional cost be?
I think you answered.
Yeah, we have already covered this.
Yeah, that's in our cost. We got
Okay.
that covered. And then we will show all that. Yes, we always do.
Thank you. Question 9. Will a plan for fire hydrants be prepared? Will it be necessary to determine the adequacy of water pressure and determine if booster pumps are necessary? If needed, what would the estimated cost be?
Okay, so fire hydrant plans are in the project. I don't think a booster pump will be needed, but it's all based upon pressure. And then your facility
Correct.
will have a requirement probably around what's the minimum per the fire code is 1,500 gallons per minute a fire hydrant needs to deliver. And that can be delivered with an 8-inch pipe. What we do is we will coordinate with the local water company, and they will give us pressure and flow rates of a fire hydrant close by. And then we can, with our software, simulate that and determine what the on-site fire flow would be. And that is part of our scope. We got that included, and the city should be operating at a pressure and have a system robust enough that you should not need pumps for your fire
Good.
demands.
Good,
Thank you.
thank you.
Question 10, we might not be able to address this now. The last sentence of your proposal saying the current lining project. We're
Typo.
typographical error.
Sorry.
Should be
typo.
rehabilitation. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the correct word?
Rehabilitation probably is probably the right word.
Okay, current rehabilitation project.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not lining in this case. Yep.
Okay, so I think you've already addressed question 11, which is confirming that the fire suppression system is included along with the water system. You've indicated
Correct.
Yeah.
to be determined if that can be done. Is Monte
Correct.
Valle, no, question 12, is Monte Valle of Scotts Valley the most similar project that would serve as a reference?
For I mean, that's a sanitary project, but for water project, I mean, gosh. I mean, we do so much new residential. Yours is more of a retrofit. I don't know, Dave, what do you think? What would be another?
Well,
I mean,
think
for us, it
Monte
seems like
Valley would be-
Monteval is the closest to this in terms of scope wise, even though it's a different pipe, it's very similar.
very similar as far as the type of the project and working around other existing utilities and replacing well, instead of the sewer, the water main in this case, and the water services. We do a lot of water service and a lot of water mains for municipalities, and like Todd was saying, for brand new subdivisions, or even water rehabilitation projects for entire school campuses that are in session and have to remain open. So we're very familiar with what needs to happen and how to maintain access as this would be constructed within the park.
oh, if those references.
And another reference I could put, I have a kickoff meeting here at 1 o'clock today for 4 water main projects in the city of Scotts Valley, where we're putting a new water main in and making connections to existing homes. And 2 of them are very tight quarters that we're doing. One's on Johnston Way, the other one's on Vine Hill, the other one's on Scott Court, are the 3 neighborhoods we're doing water main improvements on right now. So
Okay, any retrofit projects would be helpful to us.
yeah, and so those would be, I mean, Scotts Valley Water District probably be a very good resource to
Reference.
verify us with. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So would you provide names and contacts for those, or should we
Sure.
go online to?
Yeah, we can. We can totally provide those to you. Not a
Thank you.
problem.
So that's all of our questions. I've got one question that's related to fire hydrants, but I want to make sure that Erwin, Paula, and Chris have had a chance to raise any questions they have.
I just have one question, going back to where we talked about the pressure system and all that, and you said you didn't think it would be a problem. Yeah, I have two questions about that. One, why did you think it wouldn't be a problem for us to get that information?
As far as having booster pumps be required?
Yeah.
Yes, well,
So,
go ahead.
well, the reason why I don't think it's, I mean, Dave, we had what was it, Rodriguez, pretty close to this area. You have two projects kind of close to this area where we've already done water improvement projects and they had plenty of pressure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Jose and Rodriguez, I mean, again, this is about 7 years ago, but they had well over 3,500 PSI out on the street. This is something that would be determined, you know, in contacting the city of Santa Cruz Water and seeing what their pressures are currently in this area. But it's very, very rare, especially in the city of Santa Cruz Water, that there would be deficiencies so low that booster pumps would be required.
Appreciate. Okay. Okay. Now, as far as I'm concerned, you've answered all the questions I care about. The only thing is, please, if necessary, please, if you think you need to adjust your budget estimates up or down, preferably down, let us know.
Well, we'll look at what we can do as sharpening our pencil for you guys.
Appreciate it. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, you've been extremely helpful. Thank you.
Paula.
Yeah.
I have a
It's a
question.
pleasure. Yes.
I'm thinking about the fire hydrants and I'm thinking, would it be possible to do this with and without the fire hydrants? Or would it be possible to do the whole project minus the fire hydrants and have fire hydrants phase 2? Would that be really stupid or really expensive or terrible or something?
So we're going to be putting a system. Well, let's see. I want to break up the fire separately from the domestic. So you could split those two projects up into two different projects. You could do your domestic first and then do the fire hydrant second. Insurance wise, or just, I don't know if you want, fire protection is important, specifically for insurance purposes. If you had an like if someone had an accident and had one of their units burned down and there was an, insurance caught wind that you had plans to put a fire hydrant in, but hadn't put it in yet. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of devil's advocacy on this, but I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know how to answer that, honestly.
Okay.
I'm done.
Thank you. So, Chris, any questions for you?
None, no.
Okay. So in the last, we have a waning couple of minutes. I'd like to understand better the separation of the fire suppression system from drinking water. You said that in order to combine them, the pipes would have to be
1,500
yes.
gallons per second. Yeah.
But you also said it would have to be like public pipes coming into the fire hydrants. Is
correct.
So is that so that we're not charged for water used at a fire hydrant? Or is there another reason?
Yes and no, you're kind of onto it. So it's also protecting the public water system. There's different protection requirements for backflowing of that, for preventing that water to get into the public water supply. So all it really, the water department's biggest purpose is delivering safe drinking water to its constituents. So the way they protect that is minimizing what could be a contaminant source. And that the biggest contaminant source is irrigation and fire suppression systems. And also the public utility, the PUC doesn't allow fire to be metered. So because of those two components, there's ways that this has to be set up that that works. So like down in Monterey, we've done a lot of systems down there, and they allow a combined system to come into a property. But what they do is they have this really unique meter configuration. It's very expensive and they charge a lot of money for it per month. But what that does is the meter has been designed to allow fire flow to go through it. And then they have a bypass meter for the day-to-day domestic demands. Yeah. And so that's how they've addressed it down there. Now, the city of Santa Cruz separates it out where they want all these three systems to have separate connections to their public system. So you have your fire system, which has a certain backflow requirement to prevent the water from going back into their public system. Then they have your water meter, which has, depending on if it's a commercial use or residential use, may or may not have a backflow requirement. And then your irrigation connection also has a backflow requirement. And that one's obviously smaller than the fire one. And then, so that it's just a way of how each water agency manages their public protected water system dictates how you can or cannot connect to their system. So for what you would want, if you wanted to bring it one system into your park, they're going to want to say that's part of their public water main, that's their responsibility providing safe drinking water in that pipeline, because there's no backflow protection on it. So that's, I guess, does that make sense?
Well, we have backflow protection on our current water system. Couldn't we just get a?
You do, exactly.
Protection
and that's how your
water plus fire.
And that's how it's probably going to have to be set up this next time. But if you're trying to combine them, you would not have a backflow at your property line. It would be a public line coming in, and then you would have individual backflows. Well, you wouldn't have them on your water service. You wouldn't have them on the fire hydrant because it's a public system coming through there. So that's the difference. You eliminate the backflow prevention systems with the public water main, but I don't think they're going to put a public water main in your system, in your park.
And we couldn't just get a higher grade backflow on all the water coming in and then split out and have private fire hydrants on property. That wouldn't satisfy the city's protection of water.
So you want just one line coming in with a you'd have one big backflow at your property line. Then you come into the property, and then you have in your park, you would have one system for your fire and your domestic on one system.
Correct. My reasoning
that could work. I mean, I don't see technically that would work. I don't know if they would go for that, but I'm not opposed to it.
My motivation
I guess the problem is they normally have the meter at the property line. That's the problem. They don't like to go into inside properties,
right,
to read meters if they don't have to.
And ours is the property line.
They're very strict on that, by the way.
Yeah, they are. So now you'd be putting that meter at the backflow that has to be designed for a fire flow because you're combining your system. And that's a very expensive meter. That's a huge sized meter. So that doesn't economically make sense.
Okay.
And most likely that would also require the park itself or somebody else to monitor individual use for water, like with the sub meter. Rather than, and so that can be an added ongoing fee that you would want to try to avoid.
So is there
when I say astronomical prices, I'm talking like your meter fee for like a 2-inch may be like $400 a month, but a 8-inch or a 6-inch meter to be able to carry fire flow through it, that might be up to $6,000 a month.
Wow.
The meter fee charge, not even the water charge, just the meter fee charge.
So is our alternative to run basically duplicate lines down each street, we'd have one line for drinking water and a separate line for fire hydrants. And if that's true,
Yeah, but
is that
you're
double the cost or?
but-
No, it won't go.
we might only need 2 fire hydrants in your park, or we might, you know,
Right.
so it might be one 8-inch line running down the main entrance with 2 laterals off of it for your fire hydrants, and then a 3-inch line through the whole park for your domestic.
Okay, so it's, even before we consider that we're not doing laterals, it would be much less expensive for the fire hydrants than it would be for the drinking water. That's going everywhere.
Correct. I think that makes sense. Yeah, Dave, I'm right. I mean,
Yes.
the fire hydrant's
Yeah,
a bigger
yeah, I would-
pipe, but
I
it
would
wouldn't be
say-
as long.
Not nearly as long. The construction of that pipe will be more expensive per linear foot because you're talking about an 8 or a 6-inch main with ductile iron fittings. It's the pipe itself is more expensive, but the runs are not going to be similar to the domestic use, which will go to each individual unit.
Got it.
Correct.
It'll be much shorter. So
Okay.
But we're down to 1 minute. Let me ask one last question. Who decides where the fire hydrants need to be and water flow? Is that fire? Is that city? Is that
Yeah,
you guys?
local fire marshal. We'll meet
Okay.
with the local fire marshal.
Yeah.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Thank you guys
Yeah.
very much. So
Thank
Erwin,
you.
Chris, Paula, no last questions?
No.
I have one question. So when are you making decisions still, or when's your final? Because last time we talked, you guys were going to make your decision in February, and now we're March. So I'm just kind of curious for our workload, just trying to kind of figure out where it might be depending on your decisions.
Right, and I wish it had been February. I'm still learning on the job. We already have written responses from the other 2, so I anticipate over the next few weeks, we should be able to
Go to the board.
go to the board and tell the board, this is the one we recommend.